Hello, my name is Nell, and usually on this channel I discuss issues relating to disability, chronic illness, and mental health, but today's video is a little different. I want to talk about something that is currently being discussed because of a recent murder case. Today I will be discussing domestic violence against women and why women don't just leave. I've spoken about domestic and intimate partner violence and abuse on my channel before. I have spoken about my experiences with it and the long-lasting effects that can come from it, and it is something that really matters to me, and I believe that raising awareness is incredibly important, but it should also be important for all of us, whether we have experienced it or not, and whether or not stories like this hit too close to home for us. Lisa Fenwick, aged 59, was stabbed to death on the 9th of April this year in her apartment in Mascot, an inner suburb of Sydney. Her alleged murderer is 61-year-old Anthony Erickson, her partner of 13 years. She is not the first woman to be murdered by an intimate partner this year, and she won't be the last. We are likely to see dozens more. As often happens when one of these cases occurs, instead of asking why we have such an issue with domestic and intimate partner violence in this country, the question instead coming up a lot is, why didn't she leave earlier? A survey done in 2021 called the National Community Attitudes Towards Violence Against Women Survey showed that 25% of respondents believe that if a woman doesn't leave her abusive partner, she is partly responsible for the abuse continuing. So, let's talk about why they don't. Because they should. A woman should leave her abusive partner. I mean, why doesn't she just leave? If it was you would leave, right? You're too smart and you're too strong to stay. Do you want to know a secret? Almost every woman who is in an abusive situation probably thought that before she ended up in this situation. No one thinks that they're going to stay in an abusive relationship. No one plans to. Abusive partners work hard at making their victims dependent and reliant upon them. They might not have them in a physical cage, but the mental and psychological restraints are very real. An abuser might tell a victim that no one would ever love them more than they are being loved right now, that they could never do better in a relationship than they're doing right now. An abuser can also be incredibly loving. After an outburst of violence, a victim will be showered with more love and affection and kindness than they have ever experienced in their life. This forms that bond and dependency and honestly makes a victim believe that they will never find this love and acceptance anywhere else. But let's say that the victim does see reality. Leaving an abusive spouse or partner isn't as simple as saying, "I've had enough," and walking out the door. Because where do you go? To your family? Well, over the years, your abusive partner might have manipulated you into breaking down those relationships and made you believe that your family wouldn't welcome hearing from you. Well, if not your family, then what about your friends? Well, if you still have any, if he hasn't coerced you into pushing them out of your life and stopped you from making any new ones, he's probably made you believe that they wouldn't believe you if you told them what was actually going on, especially because he can be a charmer and he seems like the ideal loving partner. But you can still get in the car and just drive, right? Well, that's assuming that you have free access to a car. That's assuming that he doesn't hide the keys or have you ask for permission every time you want to use the car. And still, if you do have access to a car, where do you go? Do you go to a hotel? How do you pay for the hotel? Do you have access to money? Do you have cash? If you have a card, is he monitoring the transactions on your card to make sure that he knows everywhere you go? And this is assuming that he takes his eyes off you for long enough for you to just walk out the door. But let's say you can leave. Let's say you have friends to go to, you have family to go to, or you can get in the car and leave. Would you still do that if he has said to you in the past, "If you leave me, I will kill you"? Would you take that risk? Would you take that risk when you have no reason to doubt him? When he has followed through on every other physical threat he's ever made? Why wouldn't he follow through on this one? What if he said, If you leave me, I will harm your parents. If you leave me, I will kill your dog. If you leave me, I will take your children. Now it's not just you. Now it's not just you on the line. Now it's the safety and well-being of others on the line. And you've heard the news stories of spouses taking or killing their children when another spouse threatens to leave. What's more important? Your safety or that of your children, of your parents, of your friends, of the people that he's threatening, the people that he's using as leverage? Would you still walk out that door knowing that the man who has harmed you in a million different ways could now inflict that same level of harm onto the people that you care about? Would you just leave? But another concerning aspect of this just leave statement is the implication within it. When people ask why a woman didn't just leave, what they're really asking is, why didn't she just leave her abusive partner and avoid getting abused and murdered, and leave the opportunity open for another woman to get abused and murdered in her place? Because if a man abuses one woman, it's not going to be an isolated situation, because it's not about that one woman. It's about control. It's not about what that woman is doing and saying that makes him angry and makes him feel frustrated. It's about him needing to control any woman he's with. If a man abuses one woman, then, if she leaves, he will most likely abuse another. He will harm another. So when you say, why doesn't she just leave, you're not only not understanding the difficulties of the situation, but you're also forgetting that this doesn't solve the issue of an abuser still existing, of an abuser still abusing, of abuser still edging closer and closer to that danger zone of pushing their harm too far. Let's talk facts. According to ourwatch.org.au, in Australia, on average, 1 woman a week is murdered by her current or former partner. 1 in 3 women has experienced physical and/or sexual violence perpetrated by a man they know. 1 in 4 women has experienced physical or sexual violence by a current or former intimate partner since age 15. 1 in 4 women has experienced emotional abuse by a current or former partner since the age of 15. And almost 10 women a day are hospitalized for assault injuries perpetrated by a spouse or domestic partner. This isn't about women being difficult. This isn't about women doing bad things that deserve punishment. This isn't about women causing problems in a relationship. This isn't even about women being stupid and making bad choices. This is about our society having a huge issue with domestic violence and putting the onus on the victim to leave the problem so that somebody else can suffer from it, rather than trying to tackle the problem itself. A woman leaving their abusive partner is not only more complicated than walking out the door, but it also doesn't solve the problem of there being an abusive man who wants somebody to abuse, and when their victim walks out that door, they will start looking for a new one. Lisa Fenwick is described as a gentle soul, a kind and very loyal friend, funny and smart, with not a bad bone in her body, who never had a bad word to say about anything. She deserved better. They all deserve better. Like I said earlier, usually I discuss disability, chronic illness, and mental health. There is a lot of content relating to that on the rest of my channel, but I really felt I had to address this as it is a topic close to my heart. Thank you so much for watching. Bless.